live. I think we're on our 32nd episode of the live broadcast. We've done a lot of pre-recorded stuff, but we are live in studio. If you're looking to call in and join us in our conversation today, just call in at 520-477-1106, and you can join in. Or, of course, you could always join us on the chat that we have available. If you're listening on the app in your car and you're driving in, we're going to put on a good show for you today because we're going to be talking about something really cool, leadership. And no better person to talk about leadership is Jose Olivar that we have here with us today. Did I pronounce it right?
Oliver.
Yes. Oh, so close. But he's here with us today to talk about leadership, to talk about a summit that's going to be happening early next year. But before we get into that, let's let people know who you are, what you do, how you ended up becoming involved in this leadership summit and the stuff you've been doing at Awakener.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Dave. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate it. That's a good question. You know, when I am asked about that, sometimes I even scratch my head like, why did I come to this, topic, this arena? Mm-hmm. To keep it simple, my background is in engineering, and I've been in manufacturing for 28 years. What I did notice throughout those 28 years that there are many organizations, unfortunately, that they operate under silos. And they don't notice because they believe they don't. By silos, I mean they have the engineering department. They have the operations department. They have the HR, human resources department. They have the finance department. And supposedly they collaborate one with each other. But me as a third party, I noticed that in most cases they don't. Sometimes myself being an employee, I did notice the same thing, that we believe we are collaborating and we have those vision statements and the values of the organizations that we pronounce, the teamwork, and this is what we value the most. And in reality, we operate under silos. In most cases, or in many cases, we don't realize we do until somebody helps us realize. It's like a blind spot. Mm-hmm. And by blind spot is when we are driving. You remember back in the day, we didn't have the rear view mirror. Well, we did have the rear view mirror, but not the one on the right-hand side. I'm talking, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that mirror that you cannot see, the car on your right-hand side, and it's your blind side. So sometimes you want to change lanes and, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. I just didn't see you. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, we have technology that helps us a lot. But once again, I just go back in the day, we don't see the blind spot. Unfortunately, that happens to us, both as entities in organizations, manufacturing organizations, non-for-profit organizations, across the board, but also in families. So the reason that I come, it was a long answer to say, I like this topic because this applies not only to the business organization, but also for the family itself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's what brings me to the leadership topic.
Yeah. When you talk about leadership, I often would echo that if you portray yourself as a good leader in the workforce or at your organization or with whatever you're doing, you need to be a good leader at home.
Yes.
And I see that often. There's a huge difference between the home life leadership and then the leadership that takes place at the workplace.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think the root cause of that is? What would you say in your opinion?
My opinion is that sometimes we think that work is one hat, and then when we get home, it's another hat. Mm-hmm. It does take place, but in reality, the way that we are, the way we do one thing is the way we do all things. What I mean with this, if we have these, intrinsic values that this is what I gotta do day in, day out. I will do it at home and I will do it at work. I will understand my people, both at home and at work, and then I can communicate better with them. And sometimes we just think is different in a business environment than at home. Mm-hmm. One of my most appreciated customers, he highlighted, "Hey, Jose, I believe you're talking too much about, personal stuff, not personal stuff like my story, but personal, getting to personal growth, should I say." And I said, well, personal growth is, the essence of leadership. When you grow as a person, once again, you will live this out day in and day out because these are your values and you will stand for those values. That's what you stand for. Once again, day in, day out, business environment, family, friendship, and so on.
Yeah. So you talked about manufacturing and stuff with us, a couple of meetings we've had and everything. So can you give your background on manufacturing, engineering, and how you're involved with that? Because you mentioned that you have seen the silos before within, we use the word bureaucracy, right? Because that waves its ugly face in a lot of places, right? Whether it's in a government organization, municipality, bigger corporations and stuff like that. I hear stories every day from, family members or people that I know are in the workforce of this bureaucracy and the silos and stuff. But you've seen it firsthand, and I kind of want to let the listeners know what you did before all this, and you were involved in manufacturing and stuff like that. Can you give any insight on that background you have?
Sure, I can.
I think that's important.
Sure, I can. My manufacturing experience was I was on the vendor. I was a supplier of machinery for manufacturing organizations. What we were supplying were literally the machines that were building, that were manufacturing the product for my customer base. As such, we use robotic applications. We use robots, we use controllers, and we use piece of equipment, third-party equipment that we just integrate. They are called integrators, machine builders, machine integrators. So those are well-known third-party organizations that we just integrate those and provide into a solution for the customers. And as my customer base, many of them in the life sciences industries. By life sciences, I mean catheters, those devices, CGMs, like the big facilities in San Diego that grew significantly for the past few years in the CGM industry. So we help them develop assembly lines. So there are processes, and then we follow through and develop those machines for each of these processes. And as such, we just deliver what I call the keys of the car and say, congratulations, customer, these are the keys of your car, and go and run with it.
Yeah.
And it is exciting to see a customer excited that they can produce the millions of pieces, in most cases, millions of pieces that they need to manufacture to serve the world. Okay. And that's what I saw. My typical customer base, from a people perspective, was engineers, manufacturing engineers, plant managers, director of engineering, and those were my go-to people. And when we were just chatting, overall, what do you do in addition to work? And they addressed, some topics, for personal reasons, and some of them as well, addressing topics such as, I have some topics with HR because I am in need of an engineer, or one of my engineers is working in this environment and we don't get to, complement each other and support and so on. We don't understand each other. Sometimes I don't understand my manager. Sometimes, and those topics were like, interesting. So it's not only robotic actuators that do all the time the same thing. It's human beings that we are interfacing with that, okay, what happened today that is different? It's different today.
With leadership, I've heard this come up a couple times, that people get scared of it because they feel that it's a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Like for some reason, people get caught up in their head that it's only a one-way approach to it. And I would say that that's not the case, right? I would say every leader has the fundamentals that are very similar, but there's a lot of other skill sets and talents and characteristics they have outside of that. What would you say to that whole one-size-fits-all with leadership?
I love that question. And I was conducting this exercise. It was an assessment, which we can go back to the assessment topic as well. But we conducted this assessment, and this was a seasoned engineer. Once again, my background is engineering, so I communicated very easily with engineers. And this seasoned engineer, he said, when I was reluctant to go through all this exercise, the assessment and so on, and the assessment, basically what it does is a personality style so that we can understand the way that we speak, the way that we want to be talked to. And he said, when I took previous assessments, it was always outward. By outward, I mean how I should communicate with David, because that is his personality style. And he said, but you brought something different this time from, once again, a seasoned engineer who has gone through several of these assessments, personality style assessments. And he said, but you brought something different this time. You also taught me how I can tell people they got to speak to me so that I can get engaged with their own ideas. I can educate them how I will receive better their message, their request, their support request, whatever it is they need, if they speak my language. Not only me speaking their language. So this is a two-way topic, speaking of leadership, that is not only how we communicate with our people, but also we can let our people know we are also human beings. Yeah. We're not superiors. We're human beings. And I can also let you know the best way that you can communicate with me. And collectively, we can get better things.
With leadership, there's a tie into a lot of stuff in regards to this. And I'm not sold on it, right? I've always kind of been a what would you say? A contentious type in regards to titles, right? Now, I understand there's, depending on what kind of organization you're in, right? You have your different layers of command, or, you know, how the organization's structured and who you go to, who you report to, and all that. But one thing I spend a lot of time telling people is that, you know, leadership is not tied to titles, right? You might be in a leadership role, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a leader. And it's not to knock everybody that's in some kind of leadership role. What I'm trying to do is approach it and have people understand that you don't have to be in a leadership title to be a to be a leader, right? Because you talk about it being a leader at home. You can be a leader right where you're at.
Yes.
Right? So what do we say to those folks that get tied into the idea that it only comes with a title? Right, that if you're let's say you're at the bottom of your structure at your organization, or you're at the low end of how everything's organized, you know, does that mean you can't be a leader?
I love the question, David. I love the question because you are right. Most of us, actually, I was with one of my other customers in town, and he asked me, so how frequently you see command and control, which is one of the ways that we can address leadership, quote unquote leadership, right, versus trust and inspire, which is a book by Franklin Covey in the Utah area, which I highly recommend that book, by the way. Okay. And I told him 70%, and he said, I agree with you. It's more like 70% command and control, because that's the way we are educated. Many of us receive that like, okay, and now I've been empowered. And by empowered, many of us believe we have the power to, give instructions and directions, and you have to do this because I say so. And many of us went through that with our, parents as well. Hey, mom, why should I do this? Because I say so. Because I am your mom. Because I am your father. Just because, right? Mm-hmm. That is the only reason. So that happens very, very frequently. But getting to the second part of your question is how we can become a leader without having the title. Which is another book, The Leader Without a Title. I highly recommend that book as well. So it's like a 360-degree leadership style. And with that, in the organization, you see the pyramid. It's very, very popular to see the pyramid. And it's kind of common sense because there is only one CEO. There is typically one president, and there are several vice presidents. And, I'm speaking about a large organization that you have several hierarchies in the organization. So we see a top-down organization, and we, the workers, are sometimes, at the bottom on this pyramid. But what we have is responsibility from up, down. I mean, we get instructions, yes, because the CEO has a vision and they want to take us to another place. The president executes that vision, supports the CEO to execute the vision. But we as workers, as laborers, we have, the hands to put on this. But at the same time, the CEO is accountable to us. This is what I'm going to do for the organization. Mm-hmm. This is what I will take you to. And there is a responsibility flowing as well as accountability flowing. So it goes up and down. So we say we are responsible, being at the bottom of the pyramid. We are responsible to the instructions that we get, but also the higher hierarchies, they have accountability towards, the people. And this is what I'm going to do. Remember back in the year 2000-ish, there was this organization that, bankrupt because the values that they had on the screen and on the wall, they didn't leave them out at all. And Elron is the name of that organization, by the way. Elron, and they were not accountable to the real values that they said they want to leave out. And unfortunately, many or other organization, customers of them, went bankrupt because of lack of values that they went through as well. Bless you.
Yeah.
So getting back to the second part of the question, so how we can be responsible and add on and be a leader is when we have initiative. When we have initiative, responsibility and initiative are not similar, are not the same. I am responsible. I am responsible to execute what I've been told to execute. Initiative is what goes above and beyond. So when we are on a leadership mindset philosophy, regardless the role that we have in the organization, we can be even the CEO, and we execute according to our responsibility to the organization. But when we have initiative that goes above and beyond, that's when we can excel. That's when we can become a real leader. So me as the CEO, I am committed to the organization to do this and this. I will take you to these places. But I also have the initiative to add on to this the overall group. And that is what makes us a leader. Initiative.
I love it. Initiative. Okay, so we can't give away anything else for free on this, okay? So here's what we're going to do. You provided such incredible insight in regards to this so far. But what I want to share with the listeners and viewers is this summit that's coming up in January. I just want to say thank you, first and foremost, for allowing our organization to be part of this, because we have talked about this for years. Putting something like this together with somebody, how are we going to do it? And then when Oro Valley Church of the Nazarene called and said, hey, you got to meet this guy, Jose. He's got something really great. I think we all need to work together on this, right? And getting to sit down with you and hear what this offers and what's available in it, and the opportunity that it provides for people in this area. This is something that hasn't happened here. It's
Correct.
something that's been missing from our culture here.
Yes.
Right? We talk about leadership all the time here, and we want just leaders everywhere because, and this is an opinionated piece of information, we feel that in a lot of areas here in Pima County, respectively, and especially in the political realm, there's a huge lack of leadership. And there's not conversation, there's not breaking barriers of depth like you were talking about, where you have your somebody that's lower, that's under a superior, communicating to that superior, hey, this is how you're going to be able to engage me. We lost that somewhere, right? Where we can't, that's not happening. We have a lot of yelling and stuff that's going on and conflict that's going on and no understanding. So this is huge. And I want you to talk about this event because you're the brainchild behind this whole thing. And then the organization with Maxwell that's behind this, I want to share it. Give us all the information you can on it, how people can sign up, and what the next steps will be.
Yes. I love the question, and this is going to be a very long answer, and I will try to keep it as simple as I can.
You got it.
Because first and foremost, I am the one who appreciates your support. Because once again, we can have one idea, but if we don't work with a collaboration with other entities that each of us can bring the value, we can be lost. I mean, you had this idea for the longest. I had this idea for the longest. And OVCN had this idea for the longest. Until we can identify the strengths and values that we can collaborate and work with and, bring these together, that's where we can excel. So teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, always.
Another phrase. So I am the one who appreciates all this opportunity. And once again, I believe this is a good example of how a teamwork and can make us look bigger, higher, change our perspective so that we can excel at what we do. So that is the first answer. The second is, yes, it's the first time here in town that we are going to do it, and this is a movement, David. It is not an event.
I love it.
It is a movement. John Maxwell is my mentor. And he has put this for the past 10 years. He has been working on this for the past 10 years. And this is a global movement, actually, that I don't want the PIMA community to miss it. Nigeria. I'm speaking international, not only South Carolina, Michigan, Chicago, New York, New Jersey. And I'm thinking about my colleagues that have put this together at other events here in town, Kansas City as well. That they have been working very, very hard to put this together. San Diego, by the way, it was a very, very good event as well.
That's good.
So I am part of that team that we want to bring that value to the city that we serve, that we live, and so on. So the neat part of all this as well is not only the keynote speakers that we are going to have, but it's also the collaboration that we're going to engage that particular table, because it's literally roundtable discussion that we're going to have. So we invite the leader by position, by the role, by the name they have in the hierarchy of the organization, but we encourage, bring your team, because none of us thinks better than all of us together.
Right.
And you value each of your members of your organization. And if you put them on the table and you get to hear their perspective, your perspective might shift, or at least you can have more empathy when you make a decision that you understand, okay, the rest of the team members on the table have an input, how I can adapt. Doesn't mean necessarily that we are gonna, give them the mic to each of them, and we're gonna do what you say. But at the same time, collectively, we can bring better ideas back to our organization. Because, by the way, David, we as facilitators, we don't dictate what is the action plan for that table. So we are planning to have different tables dedicated to the organization. So each of these tables will have their own action plan. Company A, organization A, you will have your own action plan. And then now we encourage have accountability, you as the leader of the table, that you will execute this action plan. Doesn't mean necessarily next minute, but certainly have that action plan to be executed throughout the next few months.
Incredible. So from what I understand with what we're doing, seats are limited.
Yes.
Right? We're pretty limited on this first one. So what would you encourage listeners and viewers to do as of right now?
As of right now, Awakening Minds, LLC.com is the main website, and /L2L, because Live2Lead is the name of this event. By the way, I have it here. I don't know if it can be seen. There it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you zoom in on that? Zoom in on that, Raul. He's in there. There it is.
There it is. There it is. So Live2Lead is the name of the event.
Raul.
It's the global name of the event. And L2L is the acronym, if you will, for that. So Awakening Minds, LLC.com /L2L is the way that you can get there. We highly encourage them to get the table for 8. Jose, my team is of 12. Contact us, and we can work it out in such a way that we can bring more people to your table, or split the tables, or so on. But, the main goal is, yes, you come and elevate your level of awareness on these different topics. I mean, John Maxwell, Malcolm Gladwell, Valerie Burton, and Chantel Lowe. Chantel Lowe, gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist. Malcolm Gladwell, several books, bestsellers. John Maxwell, leadership guru for the longest.
Yes.
Valerie Burton is a positive psychology expert. I mean, the topics that they bring are very unique. But I go back to the main goal is that we help you create an action plan for your organization. Keep in mind, the organization doesn't mean business, it can be home.
Right.
How can I apply this at home? So it is going to be a very, very good workshop.
Yeah.
It's going to be a kind of a workshop.
What's really cool, too, is there's a local tie to this. We have a keynote speaker here from the local community. Who do we got coming in and chatting up with us?
Dan Streeter, the one and only.
Dr. Dan Streeter.
Dr. Daniel Streeter. Yes. I am so excited. I first met him just in person just a few days ago, David. But when I first met him, I said, okay, this is the guy that we can have one presentation on its own. And then he said, I love that idea. I want to collaborate with the entity overall PIMA community. He's superintendent with the Marana Unified School District. 1,700 people under his umbrella of leadership, and he lives out mainly, not mainly, but part of the John Maxwell's philosophies as well. And he has a very, very interesting topic as well that he wants to give us and present to us. Choose excellence.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Choosing excellence. Choosing excellence. So I said, I cannot wait. Then just
I told you it was a good one.
I'm ready
I
to
told
take
you.
my notes right now.
Yeah.
So choosing excellence, I believe, is gonna be the cherry on the cake. You know, it is gonna be a very, very good topic to be added to the already good topics for
Yeah.
Live2Lead.
No kidding. That meeting we had, like after that meeting, I was already fired up just from him talking that like one paragraph.
Yes, I know. I took my notes. I called my wife. Honestly,
Yeah.
I went to my car and said, "This is a very, very good addition to the already very well organized team."
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. And by the way, we have also for your audience a very good discount.
Yes, yes. So, listeners and viewers, if you are considering going to this, just use the code LTDM at checkout for this event, and you will get a discount on your whole charge there for you. So, make sure LTDM is the promo code for this event. Make sure you use it. It expires soon, okay? So don't miss out on that. Go get your tickets, get your tables. They're going fast, and we can only say, what, 200 people?
200
yeah,
people.
So that's going to happen really, really fast. So don't jeopardize it by being lazy. Be a leader, okay? Hey, Jose, it was great having you on the program today.
Thank you for inviting me.
That was a quick half hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
We run out of time.
Yeah. Do you want to keep going?
I am available. I am available if that is an option.
Let's go another 5 minutes, Raul, before we hit the advertising break. You cool with that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Let's roll.
We got to make sure it's cool with him because I told him, hey, when you're in that box over there, you're the captain of the ship.
Of course he
Okay,
is.
let's go. What you got?
So this is once again leadership, right? This
Yeah.
is leadership. So how we can collaborate and support each other. Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Raul. So I have here a little story that I want to share with the team. Speaking of assessments, that I told you that hopefully we can go back to the assessments.
Yeah.
So I was born a few years back. Mexico City is where I was born. And when I was just 6 months old, I got this illness in my body. I don't need to go to the details, but I spent 6 months in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Keep in mind, 6 months old, 6 months at the hospital. But let me get back on, only 10 years ago. So it was a few years ago, almost 5 decades ago. Actually, 5 decades ago. And now 10 years ago. So a decade ago. I went just to the physician, just regular checkup, and then he noticed something different on the results of the test, the lab test. And then, long story short, I went through a treatment of an illness that I did not know I got back then. So 5 decades ago, back then was only 4 decades before, I got that illness in my body. But I was doing excellent. Actually, I was on the tour of Tucson, and I was doing very, very well. I felt very well. I remember when I went with this specialist, he told me, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel excellent." And he said, "By the way, this drug will knock you out for 3 days. It's very, very similar to cancer treatment."
Wow.
It was not cancer what I had, but the treatment was very, very similar. The same lab, actually. Long story short, the moral of this story is that sometimes we can have something inside of us that until somebody makes a test, we can identify what we have inside of us. So that is the importance of an assessment, David. I'm talking about my body, but now let's think about the body of the organization. So we may believe everything is doing well, everything is fine, everything is perfect. So I highly encourage the audience, consider an assessment on your personality style so that you can understand better. And then it will click. Oh, I see why when I speak with, they don't get it. Or when they speak to me, I don't get it. Mm-hmm. Or we say like, he or she is very rude on the way that he or she speaks to me. or they think that I am rude, and it's just based on personality. So that is story of the illness in my body, which, by the way, I went the treatment, another treatment, which I just waited just for a short period of time. There was a new drug that I took, and in 3 months, fortunately, I overcame that particular illness in my body. Once again, I never felt bad at all.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, my shape, my everything, it was always intact, but it was inside of me, that particular illness. So that is the importance of an assessment. We have a leadership 360-degree assessment. So if you are brave enough to have a 360-degree assessment, ask your manager, what do you think about my leadership style? Or ask your people, the people you work for, by the way, people you work for. Ask them, what is your perspective on my leadership style? Ask your colleagues, it's a 360-degree. And getting back to being brave, ask your partner, your spouse, what do you think about my leadership style?
Yeah.
In my case, it would be my wife. Well, my wife, what do you think about my leadership style at home? My children, and so on. So make it very, very 360-degree, not only inclusive for the business side, but keep your family as integral part of that assessment so that you can understand the way that you behave and detect the room for improvement. I will not call it illness, but the room for improvement that we have, and then we can, once again, improve.
I love it. Detect the room for improvement.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
We got to get that on something around here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's great. Hey, what's up? Oh, I thought I heard you say something, Raul. Show your face. Show us what you're doing in there.
No, I didn't say anything. I was watching the show. I'm showing off the new hat.
Oh, I like it, man. There we go. That's what's going on. All right. Well, hey, thank you for providing that info. I can't talk today. You ever have days where you just wake up and you're like, I can talk a mile a minute in the morning, and then I get on the show, I'm like, oh, man, I don't know what it is. But anyways, thank you so much for being here today. It was awesome. And again, LTDM is the promo code. Again, I can't talk. LTDM. Say that 10 times fast, though.
Yes.
Anybody want to try? No? Okay. LTDM is the promo code. You'll get a discount on your tickets to this event. Make it happen. I hope to see you there. The whole Live the Dream Media team is going to be there, and some of our good friends from the local municipality and some other places are going to be there. Yes, there we go. Anyways, we're going to go to break. After we get back, we're going to have El Presidente Clint Peak here with us, and we're going to be talking about the earthquake of news going on in the media industry that just came out in regards to MSNBC. So we look forward to seeing you after this break. Thanks.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair. My drains were clogged. I was really in despair. So I called some guy. You've never seen such a mess. And every time he leaned over, well, you can probably guess. Now I get it done right by Picture Rocks Cooling. They're neat and clean, peachy keen. Really no fooling. Got a problem? Just call up and help is coming. Picture Rocks Cooling, heating and plumbing.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with a tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. we bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
So it's really cool right now. We're building a live studio audience that's in here. In
Let
the
me hear
studio.
from you over there, audience.
Yeah. Hey, so I would like, man, Raul, I don't know what happened in the camera this morning, but I look brighter than the sun in the middle of August. And
I
so
look
what
like
I'm thinking
somebody
is
dumped
I'm gonna have Clint kind of riff about what's going on with NBC this morning. And while I do that, can you come over here and turn down my aperture on my camera?
Before I go there,
Yeah.
wow, what a morning this morning. We had a huge cinnamon roll order come in. Then in between, while I was doing that, I'm talking to the mayor. I'm talking to Councilman John
Easy.
Officer. I'm talking to Pete Van Bogart. There's some good stuff happening in Marana. I'm not really at liberty to. I don't feel personally at liberty. I think they're all willing to talk about it, but there's some crazy good stuff happening all around this community. Now, you wanted me to rip about.
What's up?
I turned it down from the computer already.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wanted me. Are we good? Are we going?
Supposedly we're
Yeah,
good. So
okay.
he's got the tech stuff in order.
So you alluded
rawness
to
of
some
the
of the
production,
stuff that's
baby.
going on. I don't have the gory details in front of me, but it looks like today is the day that Comcast is cutting loose a whole bunch of their cable networks, starting with MSNBC and people like that. So I guess that
The
trip
slaughter started.
yeah. They've been insinuating this for at least a couple of months that they were getting out of the industry, but
Yeah.
looks like today is the day they're going to officially announce. And there's a whole list of some of their networks that they're dumping.
You gonna buy MSNBC?
No. Sometimes you just have to let stuff be shipwrecked. I want to work with clean water.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation before, David.
Yeah.
Sometimes the water's just too bloody to just sink it.
You know what the craziest thing about that whole situation was the denial of everything. The denial of the numbers, the denial of the viewership, the
David,
denial
isn't
of the
that true
content.
in real life?
Cognitive dissonance, man, just
Hey,
beyond
my
belief.
hand is up, real high, both of them.
You stretching?
No, yeah. But the reality of it is we're all guilty of that.
Yes.
I guarantee you're guilty of it.
110%.
I guarantee you Ron's guilty of it. Jose, Raul, all of us are guilty of denying the obvious sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to confess my sins right now, but there have been numerous ones that I'm just like, how about this? The minute you eat that extra piece of chocolate cake, you know that's not really what you should be doing.
Damn
and
it.
I noticed extra. I did say extra.
Yeah.
The first one won't get you. Mm-hmm. As long as that's all you're doing. But the second and third one will, if that's what you're doing. Smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol in excess, all those things. My dad used to say that. He's like, just realize, because I can full confess, I smoked a number of years. You've never known me as a smoker, but I smoked a number of years, and I said to the guys yesterday, you know what? I didn't quit until I decided, until I quit denying that was a problem for me. Mm-hmm. Right?
You're right.
No one. So the denial of I think it's more pronounced when you're like these mega corporations because everybody's in the echo chamber together.
Right.
So when I have a problem, it's usually just me and everybody's saying, hey, Clint, you need to stop smoking or you need to lay off the cake or whatever the case may be. Hey, and by the way, I don't know why cake triggered tour to Tucson, but that's Saturday, right? You're going to get it right up real early and, well, it's freezing cold and...
Ron Arenas is here in the studio, so if everybody's wondering who he's talking to.
Yeah. Just shadow over in the corner. How many miles, Ron?
I'm just doing 32.
Oh, just 32. Just 32, huh?
Just 32.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Just 32. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Podcast.
You did that what?
Right after the podcast yesterday.
You did 32 miles after the podcast yesterday?
You know what? We need to mic you up while you're doing those 32, and you can just live with a what's the word?
Set him a hotspot on him.
Yeah,
Tape a hotspot on him.
Get the GoPro.
Hey, Southern Arizona Sports will cover that.
There you go. We got a sponsor, Southern Arizona Sports Talk.
Yeah. So when we were talking about the media stuff, we had, I'm not going to say the name of the place that called us, but we had
Well, there's actually more than one. We've had a couple of encounters. We pretty much covered all the local stations.
Right.
At one time or another over the last 2 or 3 years. Because remember, I was down at one I won't name just a couple of years before that, which started this whole industry.
Right.
That you started this business.
Right.
And they were like, even then, I'm like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got the call.
Yes. Got the call. Hey, what are you guys doing? They wanted to meet and talk about how we were making all this stuff happen. So even today, we still have questions quite often, like how many people on your team, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So when you get to thinking about these behemoths like MSNBC and all that stuff, one of the big reasons these guys are just falling apart, other than their really crappy taste in content and what they're putting out there, is the layers and layers and layers and layers of people doing some tasks that are just completely unnecessary at this point.
Hey, viewers, listeners, here's a way I see it in my head. So picture this, David.
Right.
It's a massive ship. Mm-hmm. And it's capsizing. It's not sinking from the bottom. The janitors aren't causing this. Mm-hmm. The interns aren't causing this. The people at the top have ignored reality for so long. When you look, if anybody's interested, just go Google numbers, cable news, because that's what we're talking. I mean, there's way more than just news channels being affected by this. But go check the numbers. Our meager little facility out here in the Southwest in Marana, Arizona, percentage-wise, is way outperforming them. Mm-hmm. If you consider our reach is 1 million people potentially. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got a larger reach, but that's our basic audience now.
Right.
And their audience, David, is global.
Right.
Certainly the United States, 330, 340, 350 million. How many people you think there's here? It's hard to keep track with the way we just brought people in. But I saw something the other day where CNN had 84,000 people. Well, we have stuff that does way more than that.
Yeah.
Especially on our Your Digital Church platform. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? That means no one's watching at all. And in the prime demographic, 25 to 54, nobody's watching.
Well, where are they?
Well, they're not watching. Well, a few of them are at Fox. I mean, and when I say a few, they're not like killing. They talk about their number one. Well, okay, so a million out of 350 million makes you happy.
Yeah,
you're okay with that? Claiming number one. Well, it's easy to be number one when there's really nobody else in the game. How about this? We're number one in Tucson and on Marana as far as podcasts.
Yeah,
no question. Part of the reason why is really no one else is doing it.
Not yet.
Well, they'll be here, but they're not right now. So we're number one. Let's have an award show, by the way. Thank you, Raul.
Don't stop.
Let's have an award show. Let's talk. Right. Let's hand each other some trophies. We'll go on 20. I watched the show last night. One of my dear friends was being honored. A whole bunch of other people got up, and you'd have thought, no, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to leave that alone.
So when we look at the media industry where it's at now, and you talk about them ignoring stuff, right? So we know that the digital OTT platforms have really caused a lot of stress on the cable, like as far as people pulling away, right? It's cheaper. You have access to on-demand stuff all the time. There's a bunch of different reasons why it's great. But there's also, and what we're seeing here too, and people have been talking about AI for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Right? And you've seen some of the bigger companies get busted using fake AI people, like fake journalists. Was it ESPN?
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. So you had them using fake things and stuff like that. Well, the downsizing of the companies and stuff didn't happen per se in regards to it, right?
David, to follow up on the Sports Illustrated, they had fake.
Is that around anymore?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's actually
digital.
I think it's all digital now.
It's all digital now.
I remember the Sports Illustrated when it was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Same. I used to have
as a child growing up. Man, the pictures in there were incredible.
So
in the back, you could go get like local. They would highlight like high school athletes or amateur athletes in a little section in the back, and this kid did that, or this young lady did this, running in track or whatever, But they got to where they were creating basically all of their columnists were fake. They had a little profile picture of Johnny or Debbie or whomever their journalists supposedly were. They weren't real. And they're writing little stories, and they got a little story there, and they got a little picture and a little bio. Totally fake individuals.
Yeah.
That they were representing. Be one thing if you were Mad Magazine. Is that even around anymore? Is anybody?
I don't think so.
It is digital. See, it's
digital.
It's all digital.
Yeah,
Why would you print something? Here's a good way back. I've told this story before. Tammy and I we did a lot of photography work, a lot of video work, weddings, training tapes, stuff like that, back in the early to mid 90s. And so let's say we do a wedding. And these were high-end things. We were charging quite a bit of money even at that time. Okay, we get the wedding, we get it chopped up with Adobe. Now how am I going to get it to my customer, my bride and my groom and their family? Well, I had to go buy a bunch of smaller VHS tapes. A 30-minute one, because that's how long it was. I didn't buy the 2 hours, but whatever. Then I got to buy a case. Then I got to print a label for it. Then it was $2.95. So I've got about $5 in 1992 dollars in one video. Whereas right now we do it all the time for people. Yeah. I did one for Rick Peralt last night. Put together a nice little video, put some graphics on it. That is an AI voice reading it from CapCut. Little shout out to one of our, vendors that we use. Sounds awesome. Pictures are clean. Matter of fact, they used a lot of our pictures in the on-screen thing that we did from Cactus Yard.
Did they? Nice. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. We went out there for a little video.
Back in March.
Yeah, that was really cool.
But it's all digital. Why would you? My point was, why would you print something that costs you a lot of money? There's a lot of labor. We had to run off every tape by itself. Now you get one copy of this thing. We can produce 1 million versions of it all at one time, basically.
So going back to the shows, right? Let's talk about MSNBC, right? And they were just a one-sided machine. Well, and I think why? So I'm just thinking business-wise, okay? Yeah. I'm like okay smart, right? I don't want to sit here and tell everybody that
quote Michael Jordan.
Hold on, me go on this. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Make sure you end this with a quote.
Yeah. Both Democrats and Republicans and independents or whatever your political views, everybody buys stuff.
Everybody buys tennis shoes.
Everybody buys tennis shoes.
Michael Jordan's line.
Right. So when all this stuff started happening, I couldn't help but go, why are you dividing your demographic that way? Why? It makes no sense at all to achieve and obtain some political power.
I think what you're missing, David. I think what you're missing. Here's what I think you're missing.
Give me the backstory on that thinking, please.
They became. I don't know when this happened
because we're not talking business anymore.
No.
That's not a business move.
They became.
Right? So what are we talking?
All the cable channels have become propaganda machines for the political leaning of the party that they support. They have none of them, and I don't watch them.
You know how dumb that sounds?
What's ignorant? No, it's not even dumb. It's ignorant. If you're a business person, Ron, do you care how the color, creed, the political leanings of anybody's plumbing, heating, cooling, and air conditioning issues are?
Not at all.
Do you ask that, by the way?
No.
You go show them. I got a questionnaire for you. Jose, when you invite people to your leadership conferences, are you asking them to fill out a questionnaire to find out how much money they've got, where their political leanings are, where they came from, who their daddy is? Are you?
No.
It's ignorant. See, that's almost. I mean, it can't be dumb.
So when we talk about this happening today, right?
I think it's ignorant. I think ignorance has caused that, and that's being kind.
Let's
because
stop
dumb.
Pretending. Let's stop pretending.
That's what they're doing.
Also, that word is the word of the year. You know that?
What's
I'm
that?
gonna end 2024 on the word pretend. Because I feel like I just see so much pretending going on that it drives me nuts.
I can't wait to quote Warren Buffett. Go ahead.
No, go
Rip,
ahead.
rip.
No, go ahead. No.
But
So-
Warren has the best line when it comes to that.
Okay.
He's
Spit
talking
it.
more,
Let's go.
talking more investing, but it's true in any walk of life. When the tide goes out, you find out who's been swimming naked.
Ooh.
And you know what? There's a bunch of naked folks out there. I mean, there really is. Today, we find out how many naked folks there were at Comcast and their subsidiaries. Because the free ride's over, kids. Those big, and CNBC's right behind, or CNN's right behind them.
Bye.
You know how much they're paying some of those people?
Just tell me.
$30 million. One of them, I won't name the name, she is getting paid $30 million a year to do one show a week. Johnny Carson got paid that kind of money in like, I don't know if he got $30 million, but to do one show a week. But he actually had viewers. People stayed up late at night to watch him. Do any of you guys stay up late to watch the late night TV stuff anymore?
No.
You know, they go, and all those guys are next.
If I'm staying up late to watch anything, it's going to be like something on Paramount Plus or
you're special,
Peacock.
David. I mean that in a good way.
But that never happens because,
dude, it used to be. But again, I'm old, but it used to be people stayed up to see Carson. 10:30. Everybody stayed up till 10:30 and 11:30 to see Carson. A lot of people used to stay up to see Letterman. A lot of people stayed up to see Jay Leno. You look at the numbers of these late night talk show hosts, you know why? They're all political, hard left leaning. They really have zero audience. You would think somebody at the top would go, putting Joe Schmo on at 10:30 at night to draw 800,000 people, and we're paying him $30 million is kind of dumb. But here's what I think has also happened. You've got, and this is Ted Turner. Ted Turner's the godfather of this. He started the CNN way back in the day, 24-hour news. Well, you and I both know running a 24-hour radio station, it takes a lot of effort to fill.
yeah.
We cheat. We do a lot of long song playlists to fill up 168 hours a week. It's hard to fill up a lot of space.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. You got a call coming in.
Yeah. I'll get
Oh,
some
it's
in
me.
there.
I'm sorry.
You got a call. Are you calling me?
No. I'm sorry. Yeah. So here we are. So let's talk about the. Go ahead.
Let me jump in here. I take there's no like satisfaction or I told you so or any of this with what's happening.
Ditto.
But you could see it coming. For me, it happened in 2019.
I do have one problem.
Well, I think they've misled a lot of people.
The division these networks caused.
Absolutely.
I do have a problem with that.
Well, I have a problem with that too. But David, before we're too hard on these entities that are now out of business, there's a lot of people on the breadline. Nobody makes people listen, and the people that listen chose to be divided.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Because I can stand out here on the street corner all day and scream and holler and carry on. And if nobody's paying attention to me, which people should, well, that's what caused their demise. People quit really even paying attention to them. And since the election, I don't watch these shows, by the way, so I can't make an observation based on my viewership. But I read a lot of information. And a lot of information I read is about what's going on in the media. And they have been hammered since election night. People have totally lost faith in them. And when you look at just because I watched election night for a couple nights after, when you look at the propaganda, because that's all it is, coming out of these, both sides of this, by the way, equally, boom, 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 boom. This is the end of the world as we know it if we don't get our way, depending on which side you're on. And then you see them all loving on each other afterwards and hugging each other, which I appreciate, by the way. I'm talking about the candidates. I love seeing that. Well, was it that bad? Because 2 days ago, you were telling me this is the end of the world if this happens. And now we're all like, yeah, let's get together. Let's hug it out. Let's have lunch. Apparently, it wasn't the next coming of Hitler on the left side, or you wouldn't be hanging out with Hitler. I know I probably shouldn't have dropped his, but that's just the truth, and you know it, and I know it, and anybody with half a brain knows that.
Right.
That's why they're down to no viewers. They're like, you lied to me. And there's a whole bunch of people in the middle that are hurt, that are broke, that are broken. We're never going to get to these extremes, the lefts and the rights. I've said this 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. I don't believe in left and right. I believe in forward, or are we falling behind? We're either moving forward, we're advancing, we're winning, or we're losing. And I've said that, as my witness to both parties as we engaged with them. If we're not winning, we're all losing. You're going to root against the current administration right now if you're an American? I'm not. I'm not crazy about the last 4 years, but I'm not rooting against them. They're piloting the ship, man. I'm not going to root against the next 4 years. I'm not going to root against the next 4 years beyond that. I've never rooted against our elected officials. I might not like what they do, and quite frankly, I've never liked any of them like 100%. Right?
Yeah.
Well, we had a governor here a few years ago that I was okay with, but there was a lot of things, especially during COVID. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Can we work together? Can you quit sitting up there trying to make everybody happy?
All right, positive note, okay? Because we always do.
Yeah.
You know how we roll here, right? We talk about what happened. We assess what we think, why we think.
Yep.
And it's just because we see, it's visible. Come on. Anyways, here's the cool part about everything, right? Here's the positive spin. There are no more gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's right.
If you want to start a podcast show, you can start a podcast show.
Yeah. In your bedroom, your living room, your back porch, on your bicycle.
If you want to do all these different things or be involved in the media, now it's a very competitive space, right? You got to remember it's just like the music industry for the most part, right? You had your streaming come into play, that turned it over, right? So now there wasn't any gatekeepers. Any artist can just go on DistroKid or something and put their music on all these platforms and do it just like anybody else, right? But you got to stand out in the competition, and you got to stick to. You got to be consistent in it, but the opportunity to do so is there, and we're living proof of that, right? We got into this years ago. We said, "Bro, let's just do as many podcasts as we can. Let's just keep going and going and going and going and going." And now there's tons of fruit to the labor, right?
And you got to be consistent.
And you got to be consistent.
That'd be the other piece of advice: do it and be consistent while you're doing it.
We're taking this approach too. Is the way we're doing it is we're bringing in people to do that want to do that. Whether
well,
you
ask them if they want to get involved. Just ask them, David.
Yeah. Do you want to do your own show? Because you rent the studio out on the weekends.
Yeah.
Right. You can have your own show. You can live stream from here if you want. Right. Or are you interested in being a host on our programming and on our app and on our digital radio? Like, we're coming at it at a different angle. We're coming at it with the people, for the people, not to divide.
You said it, for the people. Yes. And you know what? That's the challenge I would make to all of our viewers and listeners is think for yourself. Unrestricted free agent. You want to be one? It's pretty cool, isn't it, David?
Yeah.
But you got to think for yourself, which means you got to deal with your own mud. You got to eat your own dog food, and you got to think for yourself. And you basically, what I would suggest to you is just turn off the media. You can get your
ours. Keep it on.
Yeah, keep it on. Keep the Live the Dream Media right up there. Hey, by the way, have you downloaded the app yet? Live the Dream Media. Go to the App Store.
If you go to
available. It's free.
And on the app, you're going to see the Live2Lead Leadership Summit on the app. You can just click that tile there, and it'll take you to the website to buy your tickets, where you can use the promo code LTDM, which will get you a discount at checkout. It's been a great day. This was one of my favorite episodes.
Hey, let me throw in here real quick. The food bank, still a little short of our goal out there with the Marana Food Bank.
Okay.
Purchasing the property needs to happen by the end of the month if possible.
Yeah.
There's links all over our websites and Facebook pages.
Raul, before we go, I want to share. So I had put on, you can leave the music going. I like it.
I like it. It's good.
I had put on there on my Instagram, what makes a good leader? And I had a couple responses here, but there's one that really stood out. A leader is being able to inspire others and make your employees and or team members feel valuable.
Yeah.
So I would say that's some great input.
And you win or lose as a team, unless you're like playing golf or tennis, and it's a solo thing. And even then, you got a team.
Yeah,
somebody's got to build the clubs and buy the golf course, and
Also, if you're an organization looking to have Jose visit, make sure you visit his website. We will have it in the show information, so you can have an assessment done at your organization. Again, thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. We love doing this local Marana stuff. Clint, we've got some more shows coming, don't we?
I was getting ready to say, we've teased a lot about 25, but there's a lot of stuff coming. And we even set a new precedent yesterday.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that's going to blow your mind come summertime.
One word, sports. You guys have a good rest of your day, rest of your week. Appreciate you.